Failure is often seen as something to be avoided at all costs, a sign of weakness, lack of preparation, or incompetence. But the truth is, failure is not the opposite of success. It is a crucial part of the journey toward it. It is a tool, a teacher, and most importantly, a test of character. In the pursuit of any goal, especially one of significance, setbacks are inevitable. They are not roadblocks. They are the road itself. Imagine an artist who picks up a brush for the first time. The strokes are uncertain, the colors may clash, and the proportions might be off. But with each painting, each trial, the artist improves. The early failures are not just practice, they are necessary. They teach what works, what doesn't, and what could be better. It's the same in every field, whether it's business, sports, science, or personal development. Success is not born in a vacuum. It is forged in the heat of disappointment and refined by the decision to try again. Failure strips away the illusion of perfection. It forces introspection and demands accountability. When things go wrong, one is compelled to ask, what could I have done differently? What didn't I prepare for? What will I change next time? These questions may be uncomfortable, but they are essential. They push one to analyze, adapt, and grow. There is no substitute for this kind of learning. No textbook, no seminar, and no mentor can replicate the depth of understanding that comes from making a mistake and living through its consequences. But perhaps the greatest value of failure lies in the courage it takes to face it. To try and fall short requires vulnerability. It means putting oneself out there, knowing the outcome is uncertain. And yet that very act builds resilience. With every failure endured, the skin grows thicker, the spirit stronger. Confidence, contrary to popular belief, does not come solely from success. It is often rooted in survival, in the knowledge that, despite falling, one stood up again. There is a societal obsession with winning with the end result. The highlight reel gets played over and over, while the missed shots, the early rejections, and the sleepless nights rarely see the light of day. Yet behind every accomplished individual is a string of missteps and failed attempts. The world may only celebrate the breakthroughs, but the breakthroughs would not exist without the breakdowns that came before them. It's easy to admire a final product. It takes more humility and maturity to appreciate the process. The problem is that failure is often interpreted as a sign to stop. The instinct is to retreat, to preserve what remains of pride. But giving up too soon is perhaps the only real failure. Everything else is feedback. Every no is one step closer to a yes. Every rejection letter is proof that someone tried. And every unsuccessful launch is an opportunity to revise the blueprint. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't the absence of failure. It's the refusal to be defined by it. In the face of failure, mindset matters more than anything. A person can look at a loss and say, I wasn't good enough, or they can say, now I know what to work on. One leads to defeat, the other to determination. This shift in perspective can be the turning point in any journey. It allows a person to view each fall not as a final verdict, but as a necessary bend in the path forward. Consider the most impactful innovations and creations in history. Behind them are countless experiments that didn't work, ideas that didn't catch on, and strategies that didn't deliver. But each failed attempt laid the groundwork for the success that eventually followed. Progress is cumulative. Each setback adds to the sum total of experience. Each obstacle overcome becomes part of the foundation, and each lesson learned becomes a tool for the future. This is not to say that failure is easy. It can be painful, humiliating, and discouraging. It can shake one's confidence and challenge one's sense of direction. But it also has the potential to clarify purpose. When someone fails and still chooses to move forward, they reaffirm their commitment. They declare in effect that the goal is worth the struggle. This kind of resolve is rare and it is powerful. It breeds excellence. People often underestimate what they are capable of because they fear the discomfort that comes with falling short. But if one truly desires to grow, the comfort zone must be abandoned. There is no expansion without exposure. The willingness to risk failure is the price of admission to greatness. Playing it safe may protect one's ego in the short term, but it limits potential in the long run. Taking calculated risks, even at the risk of failing, is what unlocks the door to new possibilities. Children understand this intuitively. When learning to walk, they fall repeatedly. They don't question their ability. They don't fear judgment. They get up and try again. It's only later, conditioned by criticism and comparison, that people begin to see failure as a flaw. But the truth remains the same. Growth is messy, and mastery is born of repetition, not perfection. In this light, failure becomes something to be grateful for. It separates the curious from the committed, the interested from the invested. It clarifies intent and forces one to either recommit or redirect. Either way, it brings clarity, and clarity is power. There is wisdom in knowing that falling short doesn't mean falling behind. In fact, many who rise to prominence do so not in spite of their failures, but because of them. They learn how to endure. They develop grit. They cultivate empathy for others on a similar path. Their failures humanize them, and in doing so, make them better leaders, creators, and contributors. Each failure, no matter how small or large, holds a lesson, and the quicker that lesson is embraced, the quicker momentum can be regained. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? The better question is, what can I learn from this? That single shift in inquiry transforms failure from an endpoint into a turning point. The journey toward any meaningful goal will include moments of doubt and detour, but those moments are not signals to abandon the mission. They are reminders to recalibrate, to recommit, and to trust the process. Each moment of failure is not a defeat, but a lesson, a new starting point. It is easy to see failure as something to be avoided, feared, or ashamed of. Society often conditions us to equate falling with weakness, to believe that any misstep signals incompetence. But in truth, falling is a sign that you're moving, that you're trying, that you're engaging in the uncomfortable but necessary process of growth. When you fall forward. Let that simple image resonate. Imagine a runner tripping on the track, not backwards, but forward, still closer to the finish line than before. That's the essence of progress, not perfection, but movement. Every stumble forward is still a step ahead of where you once stood. This is not about blind optimism or pretending pain doesn't exist. It's about facing setbacks with the knowledge that each one can be used as a springboard, not a stop sign. Fear of failure paralyzes people. They wait for perfect timing, ideal circumstances, or total certainty. But life rarely offers any of those. The truth is, growth lives in risk. Development happens in uncertainty. No one learns to ride a bike without falling. No one builds strength without fatigue. Just like a muscle tears slightly to grow back stronger, so too does the spirit strengthen through struggle. When people allow failure to define them, they trap themselves in the past. They become captives of a moment that was only ever meant to teach them. But when people learn to fall forward, they take control of the narrative. They stop seeing failure as an end and start seeing it as a means to learn, to adapt, to refine their strategy. It becomes a catalyst for transformation. Think about a craftsman shaping a piece of wood. The first cut might be off, the second might splinter, but with each mistake, the form becomes clearer, the process becomes sharper, the hands become steadier. The same principle applies to any pursuit. Whether it's building a business, learning a new skill, or navigating personal relationships, mistakes will happen, but mistakes are data, feedback, information. Every fall forward adds depth to your understanding and fire to your determination. Many people quit too early. They fail once and they internalize it. They assume it's a sign they're not good enough, smart enough, or capable enough. But often, it's just a sign they haven't gone far enough. One more try could have made the difference. One more revision, one more late night, one more conversation. Falling forward means being willing to persist, even when the results aren't immediate, even when the path isn't clear. Progress is not linear. It doesn't come with a roadmap. It comes with potholes, roadblocks, detours, and unexpected turns. But trusting the process means understanding that each fall is still part of the journey. If you stay down, you make that fall permanent. But if you rise again, especially with new insight, you've turned that fall into momentum. The process tests you. It will ask, how bad do you want it? How much are you willing to grow? It will challenge your patience, your ego, your resilience. And in those moments, falling forward becomes a mindset. It becomes a philosophy. It tells you, I might get bruised, but I'm not broken. I might be delayed, but I'm not denied. One of the most powerful realizations a person can have is that failure doesn't define their identity. It defines their path. It shapes it. It curves it, but it doesn't end it. That realization unlocks a new level of courage. It removes the fear of trying. It releases the pressure of perfection. It invites experimentation, risk, and bold movement. Why? Because they demand reflection. They force you to confront your weaknesses and fortify your strengths. In this light, adversity is not the enemy, it is the instructor. Those who understand this grow faster, evolve deeper, and endure longer. They stop avoiding the fall and start using it. Every missed shot becomes part of the training. Every lost deal becomes part of the strategy. Every failed relationship becomes part of the wisdom. These are not just romantic ideas, they are real, lived truths in the lives of those who succeed. What keeps someone moving forward after a setback is not talent, luck, or intelligence. It's belief. Belief in the long game, belief in the unseen progress that comes from consistent effort, belief that even failure serves a purpose. That belief becomes the fuel that powers resilience. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need to avoid mistakes. What matters is that you keep showing up. Keep learning, keep adjusting. The process isn't always visible, and the reward isn't always immediate. But falling forward means staying aligned with your purpose through the storms. There will be days when progress feels invisible, days when you feel like giving up, when nothing seems to be working. That's when the principle of falling forward becomes most important, because in those moments, getting up again is the win. Pushing forward again is the win. You wake up one day with a fire inside you, a vision of something more, something greater. You picture the success, the freedom, the applause. The dream fills you with hope, it excites you. But then a week passes, a month, maybe even a year, and nothing happens. The fire dims, the vision fades. Not because the dream wasn't real, not because the desire wasn't sincere, but because there was no plan, no roadmap, no concrete steps to turn that dream into something tangible. That's the difference between people who wish and people who achieve. The dream is only the spark. Goals are what keep the fire burning. You can't just want something. Everyone wants something. You have to work toward it. And work means structure. Work means commitment to action, not just thought. Dreams without goals are just dreams. They're illusions. They're pleasant distractions from a life you're not changing. That's the brutal truth. When you sit around visualizing a better future without building the framework to reach it, you're fantasizing, not preparing. There's a difference. So what do goals do? Goals take the abstract and make it actionable. They take the impossible and make it digestible. A dream might be, I want to be successful, but a goal breaks that down. A goal says, today, I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m., study for 2 hours, make 5 cold calls, send out 3 job applications, and go to the gym. That's measurable. That's concrete. And that's what moves the needle, one action at a time. But let's go deeper. You can't just set any goals. They must be intentional. They must align with the dream and be fueled by purpose. Otherwise, you'll be checking boxes that don't move you forward. You've got to be brutally honest with yourself. What do you want? Not what looks good to others, not what earns quick applause. What do you want deep down in the quiet corners of your mind? Start there, and then build a ladder to it, rung by rung. Discipline becomes the bridge between that dream and those goals, because setting the goals is easy. Following through is what separates the winners from the wannabes. Most people give up after the first wave of discomfort. They think motivation will carry them through. It won't. Motivation fades. It's an emotion. Discipline is what stays. That's the muscle you've got to build. It's not exciting, it's not glamorous, but it works. It shows up when you don't feel like it. It pulls you out of bed when your excuses beg you to sleep. It tells you, keep going, even when the results are invisible. There will be days when nothing makes sense, days when the dream feels further away than ever. You'll question everything, your pace, your purpose, even your talent. That's when the goals save you, because when emotion clouds the vision, goals remind you of your structure. They give you something to lean on, something you can control. You may not be able to see the whole mountain, but if you can see the next step, you can move. And moving is all that matters. Think about how buildings are made. No architect sketches a beautiful tower and then starts piling bricks without a blueprint. That would be chaos. That's what dreaming without goals looks like. Chaotic, directionless effort. A beautiful idea with no foundation. But when there's a blueprint, when there are stages, materials, timelines, then the dream becomes construction. It becomes something real. You're not just hoping anymore, you're building. You see, goals are more than tasks. They are declarations. They tell the world and yourself, I'm serious. They mark your intention with action, and over time they become evidence. Evidence that you're capable, that you're consistent, that you're moving, that confidence you're chasing. It doesn't come from the dream. It comes from the track record, from knowing you've kept your word to yourself again and again. That's self-respect, that's fuel. And don't forget, goals are not just long-term. The power is in the daily ones, the small wins. Too many people get overwhelmed because they're staring at a mountain instead of focusing on the step in front of them. Don't do that. Break it down. You don't write a book in a day, you write a page. You don't transform your body overnight. You show up to the gym today, you eat clean today, and then you do it again tomorrow. That's how momentum is built. The most dangerous thing you can do is sit on a dream. Let it fester. Let it grow moldy in the corners of your mind while you go through life on autopilot. Because one day that dream starts to turn into regret. And regret is heavy. It eats at you quietly. It's not loud like failure. It's subtle, slow, and the only cure for it is action. Not perfect action, just action. Start small, make a list, pick one thing and do it, then do another. Over time, those actions compound, they become your story. You don't have to announce your goals to the world. You don't have to convince anyone, but you do have to be honest with yourself. Are you dreaming or are you doing? Are you wishing or are you working? That's the real question. And if the answer is the former, it's time to change. Because your dream deserves more than that. You deserve more than that. Remember this. You don't rise to the level of your ambition. You fall to the level of your systems. And goals are systems. They catch you when motivation slips. They guide you when life gets chaotic. They hold you accountable when nobody's watching. That's their power. So set them daily, weekly, monthly.